Nothing like this exists.
This is at the moment, this is self-funded. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you've not got investors or
If they're in the US and they type into Google, I saw a UFO, or I saw a UAP, or report a UFO, or report a UAP, the fact that they search, they don't have to do anything. They don't have to click anything. They don't have to scroll. They don't have to do anything after that search. The act of searching populates their data on a map, which was connected to my website, UAPsightingtracker.com, and now is going to something called Above Us, which is also a website and an app. The act of searching. And yeah, music does things like I like writing and I like stand up and all that stuff, but nothing makes me lose myself in another world. I can read the best book in the world, and it doesn't transport me in another place like a song can, you know.
the following is a conversation with Pat Berlinquette. Pat is a fantastic musician and all-round humble guy, and this is our second conversation. Pat runs a successful business in Google marketing, as well as being a writer, one of my favorite musicians, a stand-up comic, and a UFO UAP tracking website and app creator, which is the focus of this conversation today. With this app just launched and available in the App Store. Above Us is a new app that Pat has developed to track as close as real time as possible UFO UAP sightings and plot them on a map, overlaying military and nuclear sites across the USA. A great resource for research and totally unique in that no one is doing this. Today we'll dive into the app, we'll test it, and Pat will explain how it all works. We'll also talk about a whole host of other things that I just love, like music, books, stand up, and UFO rabbit holes. It was great to catch up with Pat again, and I look forward to sharing this conversation with you. So, the following is a conversation with Pat Berlinquette.
How you been, man? What's going on?
Good, I've been very good, just busy, non-stop. I love it though. I'm a bit obsessed with it, but I love it, so it works.
You're crushing it. And yeah, I think last time we spoke, you know, I got so much going on that I've always been like kind of on the outskirts of ufology, and I've been interested in my whole life. And there were some things I just were so out there, even
Mm,
last time we spoke, that I just couldn't wrap my head around. I guess I was a casual. I'm less
yeah.
of a casual now, and it hasn't been that long since we spoke. Where I'm just, things I couldn't like comprehend as being true, like remote viewing. I just couldn't wrap my head around that being a thing. And now I'm like, holy shit, is this stuff true? Uh, I'm reading. Maybe I got to take a break with this stuff. I don't know,
This is
but
the
I'm
problem. You
going down
get
the rabbit hole.
this is it. You just start diving into this rabbit hole, and then you go into the next. Oh, hang on a minute.
It
This
doesn't,
this is
yeah,
interesting.
doesn't end. And
So
yeah,
last time that we spoke, you were so I've you got to let me know this. I was flicking through your Instagram. Like, are you doing stand-up comedy as well?
I try to do everything. And yeah, I did stand up last night. So I started doing stand up like 10 years ago, and just stopped bombing like 4 weeks ago. So that's good. Um, I think I got my groove, but I do stand up just to make everything else in my life a little easier because it's so horrifically difficult. I find it harder than anything else to
Yeah.
try to be funny in front of people. So I feel like when I do that, everything else in my life gets a lot easier because I'm like, oh, you know, here's a little anecdote real quick. I had a big show where I invited all my friends. I was inviting people to the comedy show I had no business inviting. I was inviting like my clients and stuff. I don't know what I was doing. So I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I kind of freaked out about that. So I purposely went into New York City the day before the actual show, and I bombed completely purposely the day before just to get it out of my system. I went to like a comedian's uh, comedy club where like really funny people hang out, and I just tried to eat it in front of everybody, and it worked. When you bomb for 7 minutes in front of people, then the next day you're good. You get it out of your system. It's really not that bad. It's bombing. You imagine it being a lot worse than it actually is. It's just horrific silence. And once you go through that, you could, you know, I
Yeah.
could see a UAP in the woods, and
Just the
I have
thought,
no issue with that.
just the thought of it. I mean, I years ago, so I had this little book that I used to write jokes in. I thought I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. I've got some material. It's funny. I can tell these
You
stories.
could do it. You could do it.
No, 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 no.
No,
Just the
you'd be all
thought
right.
of it. No, the thought of it
The
was
thought is so
just,
much worse. The anticipation of what it's like.
hmm,
It is quiet up there. I've noticed that. I don't know if it's the clubs I've performed at, but you can't really tell with the crowd. It's like really hard to like get the feedback. I didn't anticipate that about comedy. When you can't really get the feedback because you don't hear it like you're watching a special or something like that.
yeah.
Or maybe I'm just bombing. I don't know. But
No, I don't.
it's good. It's
It's
fun. And it's worth, I think everybody should try it because it does make every other aspects of your life
yeah. It
easier,
seems
including building an app.
it's a scary, scary idea. I mean, just for most people, public speaking is just like, no, not going to
Yeah.
do it. But then trying to do that and trying to make people laugh and just it's one it's not just the material. Like it's clearly the delivery. It's clearly people wanting to find, like if they don't like you as a person. I mean, I've seen that. I follow a lot of comedians. Have done
That's
for
the
a long,
thing.
long time. I love
You
it.
hit it on the head. Music, you know, I do music and it is easier. I think it's a lot easier to perform music in front of people just because if you suck and no one's into your music, you can just drive home and be like, imagine you're Tom York or something and be like, oh, no one gets my music, I'm doing like a kid A thing, no one gets it. That's their problem. And you could tell yourself that forever. And but if you go up there in comedy and you suck and no one laughs, there's nothing else you could tell yourself. You're just funny or you're not funny.
Yeah.
There's only two ways about it.
Yeah. Coming on to music then. So I think it was, I want to say Sun, not Sun and the Moon, Sun and the Stars.
Oh yeah.
So this song. So this is the thing, right? So I'm sitting there. Last time that we spoke, I'm putting together the introduction. The following is my conversation with, and I was like, I recognize your name, but I'm looking at your stuff about the app, about the website, UAPtracker.com, all that sort of stuff. And as I'm going through it, I'm like, yeah, let's have a kind of, music again. I'm looking through my Spotify. I'm like, okay, I've already got like a plus there, not a plus, like a tick there. So I'm following this. Like, what's
That's
that
awesome.
song?
I find
And
that awesome.
I was listening to the song. I was like, I listen to this song all the time, like on a regular basis,
That's awesome.
several times a month, sort of several times a week. Sorry, I will listen to that song with a couple of others that's just that right mood on my drive home from work. Usually
Might
nights.
be the algorithm. Who knows?
I
There's
don't
something
well, no,
going
it's
on.
saved to my list. I've got like a driving list. I've got a list for everything, but it's like my driving list. And I listen to that song, and it probably sounds weird. And I don't know if you ever had this before, but there are like certain parts of a song, and maybe I'm sort of geeking out a little bit here, but there's like where I'll have to find like the specific timestamp of it. But there's like a part where you do this cool thing with your voice, and you've got an awesome voice, but something about that bit of the song, and I like replay that bit several times, and it's weird.
Cool.
That is probably quite strange,
Cool.
to be told that. I don't know, but
No,
anyway,
that's
something
awesome.
about that, it
Someone else told me about
resonates
that
with me.
song. Thanks, man. Someone else talked about driving to that song or something like I don't know. Like they found it through Spotify and they would drive in and listen to it while they're driving. This it's so weird when you make music and stuff. You're just in the song so much. You like heard it a million times and you've made it. You know the process behind it.
Yeah,
So it's yeah. So like trying to put yourself in the listener's point of view is like a totally different experience because I don't want to I don't want to drive. I don't want to listen to it. I don't. It's been too many times. But
yeah.
that's cool. That's cool, man. And you
So
can't control how the audience interprets it. I learned that, work with this producer named Kenny Siegel. This guy's awesome. He taught me so much during the music making process, but it's just little things that go a long way. You can't control how the audience is going to interpret it, and you can drive yourself crazy like worrying about that stuff. But it just diminishes your art when you're worried about that stuff. It dilutes it. If you're thinking about how it's going to be perceived, you just have to cook it and however they take it in and devour it, it's none of your business. And you can't judge music while it's cooking. But
yeah,
putting yourself in the mindset of the listener is very detrimental. But you're
yeah,
right. It is
yeah.
cathartic. It can be music is cathartic to me. And yeah, music does things like I like writing and I like stand up and all that stuff, but nothing makes me lose myself in another world I can read the best book in the world, and it doesn't transport me in another place like a song can. Radiohead,
Yeah, yeah,
how transporting that music is. Uh, no book can do that to me,
yeah,
like a good band can, and
100%.
no stand-up can unless I'm bombing and I want to be in another place. Then I just trick my mind into not existing there. But yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, it helps you along in life, I think. And
All right.
I credit music a lot to why the Instagram account's done so well, because there's lots of people posting UFO videos and bits and pieces that are interesting related to
And
UFOs, UAP.
Radiohead goes
Oh,
so well with any footage. You could pick
100%.
any
It's my
song after the Bends.
it's like
Uh,
my favorite thing to do is to sit there and just choose like the right song to go with. Like, oh, somebody send me a video of the UFO that they've filmed in the sky, UAP, whatever, and I'll put something together, get some interesting bits in there, and that might take me like half an hour, 45 minutes, and then I'll spend an
find
hour
so-
trying to find the right track to get. And sometimes I end up going with some that I know will work, but there'll be that one time you think, no, I need something will work, or I'll be out at work or doing something else, and I hear a song, I think that would be fantastic. I want to use that. It's just
Well, you've nailed
it
it.
adds
You've
another
nailed it.
layer.
Soundtracks to your reels are on point. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Well, we're on to UAPs, UFOs. Let's talk about it. So, the last time that we spoke, you had UAPtracker.com,
Yeah.
the website, and you were working on the app.
Yeah.
So the app is out.
Yeah.
I've got to ask a couple of questions because people are what's the word? People are very skeptical about anything that collects data.
Yeah.
And so those questions will inevitably come up, and I know they have already after the last
Yeah.
time we spoke. So how do you want to talk about how it works first of all? We'll come on to looking at
Yeah.
it in a bit, but
Yeah.
how does
I
it
mean,
work? How does it collect info?
it doesn't collect any data on anybody, no personalized data. So if somebody's on Google in the United States, we'll get to why it's the United States only in a little bit. But if they're in the US and they type into Google, I saw a UFO, or I saw a UAP, or report a UFO, or report a UAP, the fact that they search, they don't have to do anything. They don't have to click anything. They don't have to scroll. They don't have to do anything after that search. The act of searching populates their data on a map, which was connected to my website, UAPsightingtracker.com, and now is going to something called Above Us, which is also a website and an app. The act of searching. I saw a UAP, UFO, report a UAP, UFO, populates it. And the way that works is by this mechanism. I'm using something called Google Ads. So I'm running an ad on Google. So if you type anything into Google right now as an experiment, the top result you're going to see, guaranteed, is an ad. It might not say ad, it might say sponsored links, or it might have a little ad icon depending where you are, who you are. The ad will look different, but I guarantee you the top result is an ad. The system that runs those ads is called Google Ads. It's existed for over 20 years, and it makes like Google 80% of their revenue. That's how they survive from this ad system. And by searching, it triggers the ad. That's called an impression. And in the Google Ads system, whoever's running that ad gets an impression. So what I did here is in Google Ads, I bought those four keywords. I saw a UFO, I saw a UAP, report a UFO, report a UAP, and I ran an ad. I still do right now at this very moment. If somebody searches right now any of those keywords in the United States, the ad shows up. Now that ad directs to this page I created in Squarespace, which uh, is requesting someone's UAP sighting experience. But that is something I actually don't care about. I do compile them and I look at them now and then, but I don't do anything with those sighting because they're irrelevant. It's just a mechanism to have something to show Google beyond my landing page that I have something there. So just to review, in Google Ads, by the keywords, those four keywords I mentioned, when they're typed, the ad shows up, whether the person clicks or not. Most people don't click, but whether they click or not, the impression is counted in Google Ads. And from there, there's a pretty technical mechanism that goes to the site. We don't have to go into it, but it basically it goes to the impression goes to something called Google Sheets and through something called Firebase and Supabase and this other thing called Ionic React. That's a developer thing, so not 100% on that. That's the developer guys I worked with on this who know that mechanism, but starts with Google Sheets through those other things I mentioned. It ends up on the website. So every time people search, the impressions counted in minutes. It goes on the website. We'll talk about it in a second, how it's not like truly real time right now, but working on that. But that's the mechanism by which it works through Google Ads. Now I wanted to mention real quick, nothing like this exists. There is an app called Enigma. People might see my app above us and see the map real quick and see the sighting data and be like, oh, I know this app Enigma. That's completely different in how they track the data. That's people have to report sighting experiences and do all this stuff to get on the app. What I'm doing here requires no such mechanism. No one has to fill out a sighting report or do anything like that. It's just the act of searching. The person has to do nothing and it goes on the map. And to answer that round and a long answer to your first question, there's no data. No one's personal information is passing through to the app. It's just the impression. Uh, Now I get the person's age and gender and their location, but that's not a personal identifier. I can't, it's not, I don't have anybody's name. I don't have anybody's email. I don't have anybody's address or phone number or anything that could identify them. It's just this aggregate data that Google has and all advertisers have. And as we'll see, that goes up on the website/app also. So if people are curious about who's telling Google that they saw a UAP or UFO, the app will show them. They're this age, they're this gender, they're located here, they searched at this time. It's just Google's data that's publicly available to any advertiser who would be doing this. That's passed through all those things I mentioned to Google Sheets that ends up on the site and it happens in minutes. So there's
Yeah.
nothing like this that uses Google Ads in this mechanism.
And so this is at the moment, this is self-funded. Is that right?
Yeah.
So you've not got investors or just
Since day
self-funded?
one, since day one, I've just been paying for this. Yeah. So the reason I get the number one question I get or complaint or troll or whatever about this is why is it US only? Why don't you expand it? UAP sightings don't happen in the US only. I understand that. But going back to the mechanism, how this works, people click the ad I mentioned. It doesn't happen all the time, but they click. The Google Ads system is pay-per-click advertising. So the advertiser, which is me, I have to pay Google every time someone clicks the ad, which happens a lot every month because there's so many people in the US, believe it or not, like dozens and dozens and dozens a day, hundreds, hundreds a day, telling Google that searching those four things, there's hundreds a day. And a good amount of them, I'm not a good amount of them, but some of them click and I have to pay Google every single time. So right now it costs me about $500 a month just to handle all the ad clicks and I have to pay Google that debt every month. I have to settle up with them or they'll shut my ads down. So to expand worldwide, there's going to be a ton more people searching worldwide than the US and telling Google they saw a UAP or UFO. And I have to handle all the ad clicks and then pay a bigger bill to Google at the end of the month. That's the downside of doing this, which Enigma doesn't have to deal with. They don't have to deal with people clicking ads, by the way, which is great. But that's the price you pay for this. So yeah, I've been paying since day one. I would love to expand it worldwide, but it would I gave a overestimated number last time, and I've learned more about what it would actually cost. I said it would be five figures, probably be four figures a month. Not that that's much, uh, more palatable, but probably be a few thousand a month to target worldwide, not five figures, because just learning about how frequent these searches are in the US compared to everywhere else, they are concentrated in the US. So pretty sure it'd be $3,000 or $4,000 a month just to pull it off worldwide. I do intend to get there, but you know, I thought about how to monetize the app. We went down that road and running ads in the app and trying to monetize it somehow in some subscription model. But I want people to have a really good experience with this, and not have to deal with ads. The whole point of this app is we'll go through is how clean it is, and I like how the interface is very sharp and clean. I don't want to burden that with ads and cheapen it. So I'd have to find funding uh, outside of this from someone or some entity that sees the value in this. Um, and I don't think it's too much to ask for, you know, if it's a couple $1,000 a month to get unlimited data on every single person telling Google these things and being able to see in near real time who's seeing UFO sightings. I think that's extremely powerful. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, so talk us through what we're seeing. Pat?
All right. So wait a second. Okay, this is the splash screen that people see when they use the app for the first time. And this explains everything I just spoke about, how the app functions, and it gathers data on people's searches. So here's a cool new feature, which I'm really excited about, new to the app, and that people can search any of the cities that we're targeting here, and they can find their city, and they can get notifications in their area when a sighting is plotted on the map. They'll get a little push notification in the app, which I think is awesome. And that's a new feature. All right, we're going to zoom out here a little bit. Okay. This is toggling between 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, and the last year of sightings, aka the last year of people typing those things into Google. Here's a date range finder. If you want to see sightings between a different date range, you could choose any date range and toggle. This is an overlay of nuclear sites, excuse me, and how they compare to sightings. Here's an overlay of military sites and how they compare to sightings. And you can overlay the nuclear sites also on top of that. Awesome feature. If you don't like that black and white map, you can switch to color. One of my favorite features is that nuclear and military overlay. I think it's awesome. Uh, this is cool. This is awesome. The app development team figured this out. You can see in the view as we're scrolling around how the number of sightings at the bottom window and the times of the searches actually transforms based on what you have in view, which I think is amazing. You can see that there. How the bottom, these are the times of the searches. Here we're zooming in and we're clicking on an actual dot. If you click on a dot, you can see the Google search data that I just spoke about, the demographic data, age, gender, and the search terms that are triggering, that are coming from Google Ads into the app. Okay. This is one of my favorite features right here. So you see we went to 60 days and we have this play feature at the bottom. This is playing day to day all of the sightings that are plotted to the map. We're going to slow this down in an update, by the way. It's going to slow down a little bit, but effectively you get sightings over time, day to day, based on what button you've just chosen there. So you can see the sightings as they transform across the map day to day, which is my favorite feature.
Awesome. That looks so cool. I love that you've put you've overlaid the military and the nuclear sites. I know that we were talking about that last time, that it's such a link, or appears to be such a big link, especially nuclear sites,
I
nuclear
have to
strategic
credit,
sites and stuff.
yeah, I have to credit Reddit with that. They gave me a number of great pieces of feedback. When a few months ago, I first posted about UAP sighting tracker. Awesome feedback. The big ones were, hey, can we see an overlay of nuclear sites and military sites? I thought that was awesome. I had no idea how I was going to do that, or if like the CIA and FBI were going to like front flip through my window for doing that and take me away in a gulag. That didn't happen. It's publicly available information, the military sites and the nuclear sites. Really fascinating to see how they relate to the sightings. One piece of feedback that I did receive from Reddit that I got often was that we were unable to do in the app right now, but working on it. It's quite a heavy lift, is normalizing the data by population. I get this feedback all the time. In other words, why should we care if, cities in the US with a huge population have a lot of sightings and the white dot is really big on the map? It should be normalized by population so that the areas on the map that have, like 300 people in them, some zip code, some weird town, uh, not that small population towns are weird, sorry. If they are small towns and they have a lot of sightings relative to the population, shouldn't the dot be bigger compared to this big cities? That was a huge lift and very intensive with the data. Remember, this is pulling from all these mechanisms that I just mentioned, and the more data we're pulling, it really strains the system and it slows things down. So to normalize this data was a huge burden on the system and didn't seem uh, worth it to me to do that. And it took away, I'm trying to make the app easy to use, fun to use, and accessible so that if people just bring it up on their phone and show someone or they use it themselves, there's no lag and stuttering. That's not what we want, just to have normalized data. So I could appease a few Reddit trolls. Not going to happen. Uh, I got to give a shout out to Broken Reality, who designed the visuals of the app. I'm not a designer. I had this vision of what I wanted it to look like. They developed and designed the app. They did an incredible job, Broken Reality. And the vision I had for it was just simple, minimal, and classy is not the right word, but I didn't want it to be kitschy and ridiculous and over the top. Just kind of a play on classified files and that kind of look, and just simple and respects your time and intelligence and taste when you're using it, and not like, neon green and crazy effects and music and Aphex Twin
Yeah,
blasting in the background. Simple, and they pulled it off. They nailed it. So
yeah.
that's the
It's
app,
it's
and
very smooth,
really
man. Very,
early.
very smooth. I love it.
Yeah,
It's really simple to like. It's one of those when you've got an app where you don't have to read the instructions. You can
yeah,
just toggle between really
yeah,
smooth, really slick, simple, streamline. Love it.
yeah. And
Absolutely love it.
what I really was trying to get across with the app is that is the mechanism by which it works is really important for me to get across. That someone just doesn't jump in there and they're like, oh, this is cool. That these are I want them to understand the Google mechanism and the sheer power of that. I keep coming back to that and keep beating that over and over, but it's important to note that that's never been done before, and it's a new, even though Google Ads is 20 years old, no one's done this before, and I'm not building myself up for doing that. The reason I say that is the potential of using Google Ads for this kind of thing is immense because it's not limited to the UAP space. But let's like just explore for a second what else you could do with this. Like we're just buying four keywords. I saw a UFO, I saw a UAP, report a UFO, report a UAP. It's just four keywords. We could buy any keyword we want and plot it to a map in real time. And the imagination is the limitation of what you can do with this. It's extremely powerful. It's just limited by budget also. You can't buy every keyword under the sun unless you have millions of dollars, but you could buy a handful of other keywords if you have a few $100. Some examples could be related to abductions. Think of the sheer power of us adding that to something like this, where you're just buying keywords like I was abducted. Um, you might believe that no one Googles this stuff, but I've been in search engine marketing for 15 years now. And I knew even before this app that people Google all kinds of things. And I learned that was one of the most mind-blowing things when I was doing Google Ads, which I still do, but along my path in search engine marketing was discovering that people don't use Google just to buy stuff and get directions and etc. They use it as a means to like confess. It's like how people use AI now. They might talk to it as if it's a human or confess to it things that they don't tell anyone else, not their shrinks or spouses or priests or whatever. They really tell Google, and they still do this even though AI is around now and you could have a chat bot. People still, I just imagine them on a bus for some reason and they're stressed and they can't talk to anybody and they actually pick up their phone and they will Google things. It's put a little crass, but They'll Google things like I'm suicidal or where to get drugs or I'm so stressed, I don't know who to talk to, and all kinds, any search you can imagine, people search every single day. And I've seen it just doing this line of work for 15 years. So you might not think that people type into Google, I was abducted. They absolutely do. And through the mechanism we spoke about earlier, you could buy ads for that and you can plot abduction sites. You could, if you wanted to. Or if you wanted to be more granular, you could do something like Skinwalker Ranch, which, by the way, I know relatively little about. I know strange phenomenon supposedly happens there. Okay, if you wanted to investigate the phenomenon in or around Skywalker Ranch, you could buy all kinds of keywords, and in Google Ads, you can have the campaign target a certain area and buy all these keywords related to the phenomenon and just serve an ad. And now all of a sudden you have real-time map of what people are searching in Google. And this doesn't have to be limited to UAP. Your imagination is a limitation. Last thing, think of the immense power of this tool. This is just theoretical. Say there's a country or somewhere in the world where something really bad is happening, and that government is lying to everybody else about what's happening. And there's no way to get information. We can't figure out what's going on. Not saying this has happened in history before. Uh, all you have to do, literally, is if you suspect something is happening there, but no one has proof, and there's a lot of conspiracies about it. All you have to do is target those areas in Google Ads, buy the keywords that you suspect are happening, and sure enough, because I've tried this before, people will Google, the citizens will Google if it's true and happening to them, or if there's a phenomenon there that's being covered up, the people will Google about it. We might not be able to know otherwise, but by running ads, we get a loophole and see what that government or country is covering up. And it's almost like a flare. I call it a data flare. You can use it in that way. And I've done it before to see what's going on. You don't have to take the government's word for it. You could just use it as a way to connect to citizens. And you're not taking anyone's personal identifiers or data. It's just you're kind of grabbing that data flare. And that's just another aspect of what you can do with this technology. So while this is mostly for UAP folks, I just wanted to demonstrate also what can be done with Google Ads, and no one does this. And just wanted to show the potential of this kind of tool.
So this is out now on the App Store. Is it Android as well? Android Play Store?
Yeah, so we're still working on Android and we're facing some hiccups, and the process is a lot more demanding than we anticipated. So it's not on Android yet. We're working on that, but it is on the Apple Store, and it was accepted on the first pass by Apple. I don't know if Apple's trying to go for disclosure or something like that, but they the first pass they accepted. That doesn't happen with Apple like ever. So we were kind of surprised about that, but it's all good. We're up. And the app is the best experience for this by far. It looks the best and it's the easiest to use with no slowdown. Second place, which is like 1% worse, it's still great, is using it on your phone on mobile. If you have Android and can't get the app, if you're on mobile on your phone, it looks amazing. It works great. The mobile site. What is a bit slow and not perfect is using the website on desktop. If you have a lot of windows open and tabs and you got a lot going on and you have an older laptop, it's going to be slow. So I recommend just using it on your phone, or if you have a new desktop, you're fine. But if you have an older one, just try to close some, intensive programs and stuff. But that's it. The app works great. And what else?
It's going to be such a cool tool. Like if you look at the I think it was Red Oaks. Was it Red Oaks that I want to say it's like a concert place somewhere in the States where there was this report of a mass. It was initially reported as a mass sighting over this big concert. And it would have been really cool to have to kind of overlay these different tools. So, for example, you've got yours, and just to see what data's coming in real time, um, for these cases that we hear about. People will send me stuff and say, "Have you heard about this case?" I'm thinking, "No, I haven't heard about it. Have you got any links?" And they'll send me a link, and then to be able to put it through this app as well. And go, okay, there's quite a few sightings there. That's
Oh
interesting.
yeah.
It's
That's
a
the
great
power of
tool. We
the
need
date
tools like
range.
this.
Yeah, the power of the date range tool, which is it's one of my favorite features. You could just do a look back. Like if there's any question, want to if you're hearing about the sighting in this area in 3 weeks ago and want more information, just type that date range into the app. You'll see like the number of sightings that are going on and who is searching. I mentioned earlier that the app is real time, which it is. So when you search on Google, the data does populate on the app in minutes, but you might be wondering why the app says the most granular time we can get is 24 hours. It's not exactly real time, 24 hours. So we're working on that. The data does pass through within minutes, but it is quite a heavy lift, uh, data wise, to plot by like the minute and hour on the app is very intensive. So we're kind of forced to have this button 24 hours. So that's showing the sightings of the last 24 hours. That's as granular as we can get right now, but are working on that to open that up without slowing down the app to have like literally broken down by hour, like the last hour, what happened. That's extremely powerful because right now you get a push notification that something happened in the last 24 hours. That's super helpful, but it's not like it happened 10 minutes ago. We're trying to get to that point, and it's all about trying to balance like the data getting really granular and recent without straining the experience and ruining it, making it too slow and stuttery. So working on that, but that'll be for a future release.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, I mean, it's great to have people like you. Just, I mean, clearly, this is a subject that you've been deep into for a long time in terms of the Google ads, and we talked a lot about that last time.
yeah,
And it's without people. This is what I find so unique about the UAP subject is there's so many different people in different walks of life and different interests and experts in different fields who just sort of bring it all together, and somehow along the way in their life, it somehow sort of morphs into the subject of UAP, like their skills and their knowledge from usually unrelated stuff just gets brought into the UAP subject, and it becomes they create something useful. And I use that I like to think what I do is useful, but I use that in my own example, like my own previous experience of different bits and pieces. I've put it all together and I've created a bit of a platform, and
yeah.
everybody that I've spoken to has their own different unique thing, and somehow we all just merge together. It's
It finds
almost
you, doesn't
like,
it?
yeah, it's almost
Finds you.
like it's meant
Yeah.
to be and it's meant to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
some
mean, real
master
quick,
plan.
I mentioned this last time, I think, but yeah, I ran this like a year and a half ago, UAP sighting tracker, and I paused it because I'm like, you know, I didn't really tell too many people about it. I ran it just to see if I could do it. And then I paused it. I'm like, who cares about this? I don't know what I'm doing with this. I'm spending money. I don't know what I'm doing. So I paused it. And then yeah, like 6 months ago, I was just driving in the backwoods with my wife at like 2 in the morning. We were out, we were coming home, and the moon, uh, this sounds trite, but yeah, the moon was, I wouldn't even call it a super moon. It was more like a Death Star on the horizon from like Empire Strikes Back or something, in incredible orange hue. And it was enough where I like was looking up through the windshield like Ray Liotta in Goodfellas looking for the helicopter when he's on cocaine. Um, I was like, look at that moon swerving off the side of the road, almost going into ditches, 60 miles an hour, chasing the moon. And we finally saw it as the trees cleared. We had this amazing view on the horizon of this. The moon was almost like those. pictures you see on Reddit of like, what if the moon was like Jupiter? And it's like takes up the whole horizon. The moon looked like that. I don't know what was going on. We weren't high or anything. So that captivated my imagination so much. Just seeing that. We talked about it all night, and the next day, and looked for it the next day. It wasn't there. I don't know what was going on or why that happened, or I don't know the science behind that. Um, Captivated my imagination and made me think of UAPs. And then I was in that mindset for weeks, looking out at the night sky and getting back into that mindset, and then watching videos again, and then avoiding fire in the sky, and then started thinking about the app again and the website. I'm like, why did I pause that? That was a cool thing. That was a cool idea. There's something to that, and then came back to it. So I don't know. If that moon didn't happen, we wouldn't have this conversation right now. So who knows why these things happen? But yeah, you get drawn to it in weird ways. I had never thought there'd be an overlap between Google uh, advertising and UAPs, but evidently there is. So
Yeah.
here we are.
There we are. How about that? How about that? So what rabbit holes have you been down since our last conversation? I mean,
Yeah.
there are so many, but has anything captured your interest, your
Yeah,
imagination?
this is I think I'm a normie in ufology. I really am. I'm new to this. So I'm going down rabbit holes that have been, thoroughly explored, and they're like blowing my mind. But, I'm just exploring this for the first time. So I had a casual like interest until probably I got back into this app, and then discovered various YouTube channels and explored your work more, and read some of the books that are coming out that are very mainstream now, but they're blowing my mind, like Lou Elizondo's book. And this other book I read by Graf, his name is, UFOs, and just reading material and literature on it. And 10 months ago, I would just like I would just tune out as soon as somebody starts talking about remote viewing, and be able to see like a code on a folded up piece of paper in a safe 500 miles away. I'd just be like, don't talk to me ever again about anything. I don't want to talk to you. Get away from me. Why are you in Red Lobster talking to me? I'm trying to enjoy my dinner. You're talking to me about remote viewing. Please escort this guy out. Um, but now I'm like, holy shit, is this real? I don't know. After Lou Elizondo's book, it's probably in ufology. If people are steeped in it, they probably know all that stuff. But it's new to me because I've been a casual for a while. But yeah, just the stuff about remote viewing. I'm like, is this real? I think
Yeah.
this is real because there's other words. I mean, okay, not related to UAP, but one book that blew my mind more than any others, and I read a lot, uh, is this book Chaos by Tom O'Neill. Blew my mind completely. I recommend that book to anybody. It's about Charles Manson and the CIA and LSD. If you're not really into that stuff, just try it because not try acid. I didn't mean that. Try the book. Try reading the book. Um, I wasn't really interested in Charles Manson or any of that stuff. This book is incredible. It took Tom O'Neill 20 years to write. Anyway, he explores the kind of spooky stuff the CIA like was up to. This is not conspiracy stuff. This is like this guy
Yeah.
researched for 20 years, and it's like all the shady stuff that was going on in the Charles Manson thing just made me question everything.
Mhm.
After that book, my veil of reality got very flimsy indeed. Uh, that kind of started some stuff for me. I read that like 5 years ago, but I recommend everyone read that book. And if that stuff can be true, something like a remote viewing program is not too out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah. I mean, well, we know that they had a remote viewing program. We know that they tried
Yeah,
it. We know about Stargate. We know about, MK Ultra, similar
yeah,
to what was described in that book that you just mentioned. So it's, whether it worked or not, and how it worked, that stuff, I guess we don't know, but we know they were working on it. I think almost 2 decades. I think they worked on Stargate. I'm sure that or the preceding program, whatever it was something like 20 odd years, 18 years, 20, 22 years. I think it was 22 years.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy. So we know that they spent significant amounts of money. Like they're not going to spend money and put resources into something that
Yeah.
does nothing, absolutely nothing. So I don't know. I'd love to know. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
hopeful that we hear more about that soon.
So
You
tell
know,
me what's going on with this congressional hearing that's coming up next week. What is
so
what's the deal with
okay.
that?
Well, I just literally put a video out as I was
Yeah.
about to log into this recording. I
Yeah.
just popped a video out. So there's four witnesses that have been named.
Yeah.
Um, the first one is Louis Elizondo.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got a good idea what he's going to talk about. He's obviously
Yeah.
we've read his book and he's done plenty of TV shows and stuff. So whether or not there's some new stuff and some new angles, new information that
Yeah.
he's prepared to talk about, I don't know. There's also Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet. Don't
Yeah.
always pronounce his name correctly. Who's got some info on USOs and he can talk about some of the secrecy and his emails being deleted. I think, see, people say like when his name was mentioned, quite a few people said, we know what he's going to say. We want people that can tell us some stuff, something new. But it's like part of the issue is David Grush initially raised that this was stuff that was being reverse engineering programs that was outside of government or congressional oversight, and that they were being secretive and they were hiding things. And now we've got a rear admiral, super highly credentialed, who comes forward and says this email was sent. It was about a safety of flight, and they've deleted it, so they've hidden it. So he's essentially coming forward saying, "Oh, they are hiding things." That's kind of part of the big story, that they're trying to uncover. So I think it is important that he,
Oof.
goes on oath and says that.
Oof.
Michael Schellenberger, who broke the story of Immaculate Consolation a couple of weeks back, that we're all talking about, is allegedly the reverse engineering program um, that he's going to talk about. He's got some source that's apparently also written into Congress and provided some kind of report. So I don't know if he's going to give us a bit more, if we're going to get maybe the source.
Oof.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm hopeful. Maybe just a bit more context on that. But I guess that's also what it's all about, this whole reverse engineering thing.
Oof. It's
So
gonna
that'd
be
be
a
good.
banger. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a
And then
banger.
one other guy who I don't know and have never seen before, and I'm quite interested. I did a bit of a dive into it just to make that video that I did earlier. But he's a really interesting guy because I don't know what he's going to say, which makes it more interesting. But he worked for NASA. He was an administration assistant, I think, involved in commercialization, some other bits and pieces. But he was high level in NASA and also Bigelow Aerospace. So he worked with Robert Bigelow many years back. And obviously Bigelow's involved in
Yeah.
ORSAP. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, some highly credentialed
Yeah.
people.
It's gonna be a banger.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, there might be more. There could be other names that we just don't know about, and they're the only ones that they're
Wow.
publicly posting about and broadcasting. But
Wow. Yeah. My
yeah,
dad, my dad worked for Grumman, which is aerospace contractor in Long Island. At that time, like the majority of Long Islanders worked for Grumman or Fairchild, these two just defense contractors. Now Grumman is like a movie theater, not a movie
okay.
theater. A movie set where they film, yeah, like a stage set thing. They film sequences from movies and stuff. But I go out. My dad passed away when I was a kid, but I go out with his friend from work every year. We go to the diner in Queens, New York, and he tells me all these stories about Grumman, and they were building. They worked on the lunar module together. They worked on the uh the plane from Top Gun. Name escapes me right now. Anyway, I always since I've gotten the UAP thing, I when I am with him, I'm like, can you tell me any kind of weird shit that went on with because I know a lot of those contractors supposedly got Grumman was one of them. Uh they got like materials and stuff like that. But alas, no. But the point of this is in a weird way, this this project has brought me closer to my dad in a very strange way. I didn't really understand the man because he died when I was so young. But my fascination, I'm not interested in flying and aeronautics like he was obsessed with that stuff. But in a weird way, this is like linking us together because that ancestral fascination with unknown stuff in the air is clicking. It's cool. It's a cool thing I'm
Yeah.
realizing about this. So that's cool. But alas, no secrets from Grumman yet, unless I got to get this guy drunk and
Well, I
maybe
mean, they say that they're so good at the compartmentalizing of this stuff. Like, you wouldn't know if you're working on some sort
you'd
of
have no
reverse
idea.
engineer. You wouldn't know. Yeah, you
Grumman
just,
is a spooky place now, though. So I have a my friend lives in a house like 3 blocks from Grumman. Supposedly it's a yeah, movie stage. There hasn't been a movie film there in like 15 years. Helicopters come in and out of there. It's dark. It's all bordered around by fences. I can't imagine. Supposedly Angelina Jolie filmed the movie there. I can't imagine Angelina Jolie getting helicoptered into a place that looks like a mini Area 51 in Long Island. But it's very mysterious, and they were involved in, yeah, I won't go there. Some cover up stuff with pollutants and stuff. That was a big deal in Long Island. But yeah, who knows?
were there
I'm
any
really
sightings
interested
on
to see
any
what you do.
sightings on the app in that
Okay.
area?
What's that?
Were there any sightings on the app in that sort of area out of
That's
interest?
worth looking at.
Mm.
Hopefully it's not people who see those helicopters over and over and they keep typing into Google that they saw a UAP. Could be a helicopter, but going to Grumman constantly. Very, very mysterious area. But
Yeah.
that's captured my imagination.
Do you have you heard of the Tedesco? Is it Tedesco? I should know this because I spoke to them the other day. Tedesco brothers. There's John and Gerald who run Nightcrawler, Eye on the Sky. I'm sure they're Long Island. You might have
Huh?
seen them.
No,
I don't know how
no,
big
I
Long
don't.
Island is. They're really interesting guys. The podcast will probably be released like maybe tomorrow. Hopefully, I'm going to
Oh,
try and edit tonight. But
awesome.
essentially, they're like the couple of brothers, and they work with a couple of other people. But generally, they'll go out in. They've got like a camper van,
Yeah,
like a Winnebago, whatever you want to call
yeah,
it, that's been modified, and it's got like radars on the roof
yeah,
and all sorts of really cool tech. And they just go out to like, I don't know, the beach or
yeah.
wherever, and they just stick it up, and they've caught loads of really interesting things. But they're really
Oh,
scientific in the way that they report the data. So like they're
yeah.
very technical. Super cool guys by the
That's
sounds of it,
awesome.
not far from you.
Oh, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Maybe we could
Yeah, they're
link up.
cool. Definitely. Awesome. Well, look, Pat, I think I'm conscious of your time. I really, really do
Yeah,
appreciate it. I'm looking forward to using the app. I have I've used the website loads. I tried
awesome.
to look for the app the other day, but I couldn't find it. I'm sure it's on now. Maybe I was a bit too early to download that and get
It'll
using it.
definitely be on the App Store, Apple Store. Yeah, under above us.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm going to download it right now.
And if you can't, on the website, if you go to the About section, there is a link to the App Store that'll bring you right to it.
Superb. Nice one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Well, Pat,
man.
it's
I
been a pleasure,
really
man.
thank you so much.
Take care of yourself. Let's talk again in the future, man. Stay
Talk
in
to you
touch.
soon. Thanks, man.